things. She'd be alligator meat one morning. Yeah, he was not quite as grown up or sophisticated about this thing to where he thought it was cute.
Right.
He was very worried about it. He was torn up about
And when he
it.
told you about his plans for this war, he was crying at the time.
Crying.
Did he say, I've got to stop these thoughts, or
I don't remember.
did he ask you to help him?
Yeah.
In what way?
What am I going to do?
Do you recall what you told him?
Probably told him, go to doctor, I can't help you, something, I don't know what I said, but I imagine it would be something along those lines, you know, just...
Did he ever discuss with you plans for torture? Fantasies about torture?
I shouldn't say yes or no, I just say I don't remember.
How about-
I remembered something he did once. It was weird. We were at a place where they had like a canal that, during this part of the canal, it was all built. Like it wasn't sand on the bottom, it was all concrete. Like a normal part would come and then it would enter this part. I don't know what you call that. But it was all concrete place where water flowed through. Okay, and we were there doing our usual nature boy activities, and he had a gun. And a big fish was in there, about this big, and he was shooting the fish. And it scared, and it made me sick. I'm like, why would I shoot the fish? You know, and then I'm like, these bullets are ricocheting all over with all this concrete,
Sure.
and I'm getting out of here. You know, and it was one time when I was kind of scared. And it was also something that was sort of totally unnecessarily sadistic. If we were out shooting crows or birds, it really wouldn't strike me that way. But when I saw him shooting that fish that was trapped up in that place, I had a problem. And we had a little disagreement, like, let's get it the hell out of here, you know. Oh my God. You know, bestiality is another thing he's related to, don't you?
No, tell me about that.
Oh.
Well,
He
I'll tell
He denies this, but it was in all the headlines and it was in the psychiatric reports that what he said and claimed and the first person to have done is to cut off the heads of horses and have sex with them.
After death.
Yeah, well, their heads were cut off. So this is what he claimed that he was doing. I mean, now he also denies it.
He also denies.
He denies it.
You said that he had a fascination with excrement. Has a fascination.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Tell
don't
me,
know anything about it.
you don't know anything about that.
No.
It's my understanding
Yeah,
that...
oh, you want to hear his bullshit story? Oh, this is really great. This ought to go down in history of bullshit. So he wanted to write about murder for his creative writing class, and his hypothetical creative writing teacher looked at it and said it wasn't convincing because it wasn't realistic enough. And he wanted to know from the teacher what was the most, how he could make it more realistic. And they said, well, when people, you know, are killed and stuff, it's like really nasty and stuff, you know.
That's what he said.
I'm sorry, you know, sometimes it's just ridiculous, but I'm just trying to repeat
Sure.
the way his mind runs and the bullshit he tries to foist off on people.
Yeah.
Okay, so he introduced the element of all this excrement in order to make his writing more realistic. It's not because he's interested in it.
No, not at all. We understand that. But see, I also understand that he forced his victims to take X-Lax and drink beer so they could watch him defecate.
Oh, you got that from his story. You
No,
didn't get
I
that.
never saw his stories.
Yes, you did. They were introduced in the court record. That one murder plan, it says exactly what it says. Having soap is good to make, and beer is good
Oh,
to
yeah,
make them
that's right.
induce. That's where you got that. Exactly where you got that. But like I said, from studying his fantasies, the big payoff was when the excrement occurred, and sometimes it would occur after death, sometimes before. But that was the big high moment.
Excellent.
Yeah, it wasn't the moment of death. He didn't even care if he was present for the moment of death. Now he'll write these he'll write these fiction stories where he stabs a girl and experiences an orgasm, but that is macho posturing.
What do you
I'm
think-
getting pretty good at this. I tell you what's bullshit and what's real.
What do you think happened with those girls?
What girls?
Okay, let's take, for example, the one he's accused of murdering. In your own mind, what do you believe happened between John and these girls?
I'm sorry, because I'm still confused about that one, and I still think it's possibly his frame.
Let's
There's
take the one-
too much that is flaky about the case.
All right, let's
And
assume.
it doesn't correlate to the pathology I've seen in Schaefer. I don't see the connection.
What case is
Schaefer's pathology consists of no body, no crime. Dump them in the swamp and they'll be alligator meat by morning. He figured this out at the age of 17. So tell me why at the age of 28 he's cutting them up in large pieces of meat. No, it was not a correct crime. That crime was not the way they said it was. They had a hole. It was a new hole. He'd been in jail for 5 months. They had body parts that had been excavated and salted on the ground. They had not been sitting out there for 6 months. If you leave them sitting out there in Florida for 6 months, they won't look like that anymore. The way they looked when they were so-called found was not the way they would look if they'd been sitting out. This so-called grave that he had supposedly dug 6 months ago there in the sand right by the water could not possibly have been in that format as I've seen the photographs, like it was freshly dug. There was no erosion at all. I've seen too much about this crime to really buy that it was a Schaefer deal. I haven't bought that yet.
Those two that he's been convicted